Let's be honest, you've already seen Pokemon challenges like this, but I'm planning to climb the Nuzlocke ladder and tackle on every challenge that comes my way. Welcome to my new series, where I take on all the regions of Pokemon in order in a randomized Nuzlocke fashion. We've already heard the same song and dance before. You are allowed to catch the first encounter you see per round, you must nickname all your captured Pokemon to grow more attached to them, and if a Pokemon faints, it is considered unusable from that point onwards and must be boxed or released for the rest of the playthrough. But in this Nuzlocke series, I am adding 2 extra rules into the fray. If I run into an encounter on any route that I've already successfully caught, I am allowed to re-roll for a different encounter in that same round to prevent any duplicate teammates via the Dupe's Clause rules. And lastly, by whatever chances that I run into any shinies on a route, whether it be a Pokemon that I already have or have not caught, I am free to catch and add to my team as I please. So with that being said, with the first region being Kanto, I decided to play Pokémon Leaf Green to start off this Nuzlocke series in a good old classic fashion and with a decent wide variety of Pokemon spanning to Gen 3. What will arise as we go down this path? That's for me to know and you to find out. So without any further ado, it is time to start the first Nuzlocke. Upon opening up the game, I am presented with Professor Oak going through the same introduction of the Pokemon world that we have heard time and time again, which I graciously skipped over and went ahead to name myself Zenith. Afterwards, we are then introduced to our rival, which I gave it some thought and decided to name my rival after one of my little brothers on Discord who would kill to be a potential rival in any Pokemon game I play, Slash, who has their own YouTube channel, Slashmations. After naming my rival, I am then suddenly squished down into a chibi figure and thrown into the game. Dashing out the door without a word to my mom, I come across the grass patch outside of Pallet Town, but before I took a step in it, I hear the voice of Professor Oak calling out to me and was dragged by the legs, willingly, followed the professor to their lab where my rival Slash was waiting for us. As impatient as he was, the irony, I of course got to choose one of the 3 starters laid before us. Our randomizer starters were the Water and Ground type Wooper, the Fire and Dark type Houndour, and the Poison type Swalot. Out of the 3 starters and a bit of research between the 3, I chose Swalot as my starter, being a reasonable enough bulky starter with a base stat total of 467. I named it Glutton as its nickname after its hidden ability. I was hoping it had one of the 2 abilities Liquid Ooze just in case if I were to come across any HP sapping Pokemon that knows the move Leech Seed, Leech Life, or any other drain moves. But it didn't, as it had the other ability Sticky Hold, an ability which prevents held items from being taken or switched. Fair enough ability as it is, but unfortunately could have been better. After receiving our Pokemon, Slash then challenged me to our first rival battle, to face me off with his Fire and Dark type Houndour.
That's not what you chose.
Yeah, he didn't pick Houndour. Instead, he was given a male Nidoran thanks to me not turning on Keep Starter Pokemon in the Rivals tab on my randomizer application. But it was no problem to me since Glutton had the move Yawn, which makes the target drowsy on the turn that is used and fall asleep at the end of the following turn. Afterwards, I pounded away since it was my only other logical attacking moves since besides Yawn and Pound, Poison Gas and Sludge wouldn't be effective since both Pokemon are pure poison types. I took out Slash's Nidoran with little to no difficulty and leveled up at the conclusion of our first rival battle. Upon leaving Pallet Town to receive our first Pokeballs to start the Nuzlocke, I came to encounter a rather big fork in the road.
I'll see if I can come back for you. Jesus Christ, okay. Is no one going to notice the badass whale in the grass? Is no one gonna notice?
Yeah, big. I took it out for EXP, moved on to Viridian City to collect Professor Oak's parcel from the Pokemon, returned to his lab after meeting a Swinub along the way, and delivered the parcel in exchange of receiving our Pokedex and Pokeballs. Now the Nuzlocke really begins. Returning to Route 1 outside of Pallet Town, I meet once again with a familiar Whale Lord as my first encounter upon receiving my Pokeballs. I put it to sleep using Yawn as Glutton and threw the first Pokeball after lowering its HP into the yellow.
How do you break out while you're asleep? brother.
For whatever reason, it broke out while it was asleep after the bowl shook once. I used Pound to lower the Wailord's HP a bit more till it was in the red and threw my second Pokeball, which did the trick. I nicknamed the Wailord Big Lad for a unique idea twist, as in our big boy was already taken by an already fallen Pokemon to an already renowned trainer. So this was my version of that Pokemon to respect its name. It had a special defense nature at the cost of attack with the ability Water Veil, to show there's fire types the real monster that lurks in the sea. Passing by a Hitmonchan, Electrike, Ferret, and the same Swinub on the same route, I returned to Viridian City, I bought more Pokeballs and a few purchases at the Pokemon, and passed by an old man who wanted to take the time to show me how to catch a Pokemon, which I totally paid attention to, and reached Route 2 for my next encounter.
Okay.
As reluctant I may have been to catch a Pichu, an encounter is an encounter, so I put it to sleep after being thundershocked and chomped twice and caught it in my first Pokeball. Taking the gender in mind, I named the Pichu Sparks, who had a special attacking nature with its ability Static. I would hope that I would find good use for paralysis, but the ability Static is only triggered after being inflicted physical damage, and I was not going to be using Sparks to Pichu for that thanks to its lower than mediocre base stat total of 205. After a bit of leveling up on the team and passing by Spoink on the same route, I would now enter Viridian Forest. Within Viridian Forest lies my next encounter, which was soon to be discovered as an Intimidate Granbull. Using the same strategy as Swanline as I've done for my previous encounters, I put it to sleep using Yawn and lowered the Granbull's HP just well enough to capture it on my first attempt. This Granbull, I gave it the name Jaws because, I mean, look at him. It makes sense besides being named after a movie, doesn't it? Anyway, it has a physical attacking nature to boot, so that's handy. Moving onwards through Viridian Forest lies another Swinub, Zigzagoons, and female Nidorans before coming to our first trainer battle in the area. The young trainer had a growling Noctowl, which I took down with little effort, and it gave Glutton a little bit more EXP than it knew what to do with.
Jesus. Okay, chill out.
After that, a Licking Haunter followed suit that knew Spite, a move that causes a target to lose 2 to 5 PP on his most recent move that turn. Nevertheless, after a few rollouts as Big Lad, the Haunter goes down. Further in Viridian Forest, Shimmering Paws Hitmonlee, another Granbull this time, before reaching the next trainer battle. This trainer had a speed boosting Ninjask that knew Leech Life, which Liquid Ooze would have been good for, but I proceeded to take it down with little to no effort. Out come their next Pokemon Gligar, for whom I brought in Big Lad to take it out with a super effective Water Gun and a poison stinging Ariados. I left Big Lad to take it out with a super effective rollout, but in retaliation, Ariados used Poison Sting and managed to get Big Lad poisoned. Concerned as I was, rollout happened again, taking out the Ariados, but I'm a bit concerned now. You see, prior to Gen 5, a Pokemon being poisoned within battle will remain poisoned until cured via antidote or healed at a Pokemon Center. Though the worst thing is, in correlation to Gen 3, a poison Pokemon outside of battle will take 1 HP of damage for every 4 in-game steps the player takes. The reason why I say the worst thing is because if you take too many steps in response to how much HP your Pokemon remains with, it can actually faint. And according to the Nuzlocke rules, that Pokemon would be considered dead. This detail was later changed in Gen 4 to where the Pokemon would be cured from poison until it remained with 1 HP as an additional cure. But we're not in Gen 4 now, are we? So with that, I decided to dash through the rest of Viridian Forest while encountering a Togetic and Linenude to reach Pewter City, but not without one more trainer battle who gave me time to breathe. This trainer had a learned supersonic Ladybug, who I tried to put to sleep with Yawn as Glutton, but a little too soon since I poisoned it using Sludge before it could fall asleep. In response, the Ladybug got Glutton confused thanks to another Supersonic, and unfortunately hits itself as I tried to use Sludge in retaliation. But thankfully, it only happened one time, as after one more Sludge, it was enough to put the Ladybug to sleep as a result. At last, I made it to the Pokemon Center in Pewter City to cure Big Lad's poison and backtrack to the patch of grass at the front of Pewter City for my next encounter. This time, I came across a Zangoose which put an annoying look on my face.
Well, I know who I'm naming this one.
Using the same tactic as previous encounters, putting it to sleep while receiving a few scratch marks in the process, I tossed my first Pokeball and crossed my fingers in hopes of catching it on the first try. Nicknaming the Zangoose took no time or hesitation as I knew who to name this Pokemon after, which was my other little brother Astral, being one of his favorite Pokemon, so welcome to the team, little bro. It too had a physical attacking nature by my surprise, along with the ability Immunity, which prevents poison, and I was quite amused to see such.
Yeah, I have a hard hitter, don't I? Oh my god.
Then coming up to the first gym, I leveled up my team using cheats.
Screw grinding, I'll play the game as I want.
Astral learned Swords Dance at level 10, which was concedingly early to what I'm used to, if not told by my reaction to such. And Sparks learned Thunder Wave, which would be a safer way to inflict paralysis. Soon after, I wanted to see if I could find my rival Slash again, which means going back through Viridian forests, but not without running into the mother of who I think to be towards the female Nidorans that I kept on encountering.
So you're telling me I could have had a Nidoqueen other than a Granbull? Okay, game, whatever you say.
Totally wasn't ungrateful for just a Granbull, but I ran from the Nidoqueen and moved on with my original plan. Coming up to Route 22 to see Slash again for our second bout, I decided to go for a 5th encounter to complete my full team of 6 before the first gym. In the patch of grass on the route that leads to the Indigo Plateau, my 5th encounter arises from the field and reveals itself to be a Murkrow. At first, I was interested in seeing it, though I then did the research to make sure of something and unfortunately found out that it doesn't get its evolution until Gen 4, killing my mood along with it, but tried to catch it anyways. Being ineffective by yawn thanks to Murkrow's insomnia, I went ahead with the rest of my plan and used Sludge to weaken it, but it was Urkard in the process. My first failed encounter. Moving on past that, I suspected Slash to be in the area, which led us to having our second battle before the first gym, where he takes me on with a new arsenal of Pokemon as he had asked if I've gotten stronger since our first battle. Starting off the battle, Slash leads with a constricting Tentacruel that nerfs Supersonic. Glutton was confused by Tentacruel's Supersonic first turn, but fought through confusion and managed to get the yawn off, impending Tentacruel's slumber at the end of the next turn. Before then, Tentacruel used his Constrict to lower Glutton's speed while doing a measly amount of 2 damage. I tried to attack again, but Glutton hit itself thanks to confusion. I decided to play around the edges and switched out Glutton for Sparks the Pichu to zap the Tentacruel to fry Calamari as it was asleep. 2 Thunder Shocks were made before Tentacruel woke up and confused Sparks.
Oh, come on, push through this, push through the confusion. Oh, you tried it. You tried it.
Taken down by a Pichu. That's gotta be embarrassing. Sorry, Slash. Even the smallest mouse can be the deadliest in the pack. Following suit, Slash sends out a Granbull in replacement of his Nidoran, which I made a comment about, but proceeded with the battle anyway. I swapped out Sparks for their well done efforts and brought out Astro the Zangoose. Slash's Granbull tried to lower Astro's speed in response, but Swords Dance and Quick Attack proved to be too much for the scary jawline dog's effort, winning me our second rival battle. Returning to Pewter City after tangling with Slash for the second time, it was time to battle and receive our first gym badge. As I leveled up my team just a bit more, Jaws ironically learned Bite at level 13, and I kid you not, this couldn't have come at a more brilliant timing as I made my way to Brock. Coming up to challenge the first trainer that served as an obstacle for reaching Brock, I felt more than prepared to take them on. The trainer led with a cursed Bayonet as I led with Glutton. Seeing how the tables were shown before me, I swapped out Glutton for Jaws to inflict Intimidate as Bayonet took the time to use Curse. A foolish miscalculation! With Bayonet sacrificing half its HP, I had Jaws use Bite for super effective damage to put it out of its misery. Up next was an uproaring Spinda, which I swapped out just to have Astral take on while setting up Soul Stance. Spinda uses Uproar to do below mediocre damage and was taken out with Astral's quick attack before it could attack with Uproar again on the following turn. Now it's time to face off Brock for our first gym badge. As I reached Brock, claiming he's a Rock-type trainer, I took him on to see for myself, but he didn't come without a surprise waiting for me. Brother! As my expression shows when he sent out my favorite Pokemon in general, Blaziken, I knew what had to be done as I led with Glutton. I decided to get it over with and swapped out for Big Lad the Whale Lord to take an Ember and Scratch Combar for Big Lad to use Water Gun for super effective damage. Blaziken lives the first Water Gun, but only to lead to using Focus Energy in vain. I saw this as a sign and with a heavy heart, laid Blaziken to rest with one last Water Gun. Victory was at, but I digress. After Blaziken's defeat lies Brock's final Pokemon, Porygon 2. Not knowing the dangers, I leave Big Lad in for rollout, hoping for a quick finish as I recover from the fall of my favorite Pokemon, as Porygon 2 uses agility to swap the turns between us, and right afterwards, Porygon 2 lands a critical Psybeam, cutting Big Lad's HP, who was locked in rollout, to below half. My worried and concerned expression showed as the second rollout occurred, followed by another Psybeam. The battle was stuck on loop with both Pokemon losing HP over time until the moment where it mattered most. Take it out! Oh my god. I was not expecting that. Jesus Christ. Big Lad literally survived on 3 HP. I am not kidding. I got scared. Thank God. I would have regretted choosing Rollout if I knew Porygon had Psybeam. I just wanted to say, if it wasn't for Big Lad's special defense nature, that battle would have ended differently, but oh my god, did he prove to be the MVP of that battle thanks to his resilience. With that, the Boulder Badge was earned as I go to freely rest my Pokemon after such battle, preparing for our next chapter to come. I'm gonna try to prevent more of those mistakes from happening because I literally nearly costed one of my possibly best Pokemon. Oh, brother.